So the astrology of daily life, how do we use astrology every day? How might we engage with astrology and with the movement of the heavens and on a day-to-day basis to assist our lives, to help our lives? That is what this video is going to be about today. I'm really happy to talk about this topic. And the genesis of this video comes from a comment by Jess Gosling. She wrote here, learning so much from you, SJ, most informative astro trainer I found on here. I didn't have to read that hype of my own channel, but thank you for that, Jess. Glad you're enjoying it. Would love to know if you have any resources you could recommend for keeping up with the daily astrology, any good apps, accounts, etc., etc. Keep up the amazing work. Thank you again, Jess. And I wanted to address this. I think it's a great question. And I wanted to start by just coming in and letting you know the app that I have on my phone, the only astrology app. I've tried many, but this is the one that I've stuck with and that I use on a daily basis. It's called Astro Gold, and they run it for Android. They've got an app here for Android, costs $24.99. That's a modest price, actually, for the value that you're going to get for this app in terms of being able to use it to map and follow the daily astrology. And by the way, in this video, I'm going to talk about some app recommendations, and then I'm going to show you some techniques for how to use the daily astrology, or how I do it. So if you're here for more of the techniques, just wait. It'll be a few minutes here. I just want to get this app recommendation conversation out of the way. So if you're on Android, you can pay $25, one payment. You got this app for life. And it, excuse me, the app, it's wonderful. If you are on iOS, I think it's $40 from iTunes. And then Astro Gold does offer, if you're on a Mac, this is the software to use for Mac users, because SolarFire, the software I use, kind of the industry standard, is not available for Mac operating systems. This is the software you would use for your Mac laptop. All my astrologer friends that use Mac use Astro Gold for the Mac operating system on their laptops. They love it. I've seen them show me what it can do. It looks very, very cool. I kind of want a Mac to use it, but I run SolarFire, and there's stuff that SolarFire does that Astro Gold can't do. There's stuff that Astro Gold does that SolarFire can't do, such as the world of astrology, operating system compatibility and software. There's no perfect solution. We all wish there was. It's kind of a hodgepodge of apps that everybody's having to kind of throw together. But anyhow, back to this talk. Astro Gold for iOS, for your iPhone operating system, $40. And you can see here some screenshots from it. Here's what it looks like when I use it. The main way that I use this app is that I keep it on a single wheel, and I just click current chart, and there's a little button. It'll just upload the current chart. So anytime during the day, I pull my phone out of my pocket, I open Astro Gold, I click that current chart, and it just shows me exactly what's happening in local space. So I use it sometimes that I'm out during the day and I want to tweet, like when Venus ingressed into Libra back in late September, I was walking around and I pulled it up right as the ingress happened, took a screenshot, edited it a little bit in my Photoshop app on my Android device. And then I can, give a nice little screenshot, and then boom, I got a tweet. So it can work well too if you're interfacing with other apps and in Twitter or wherever you're publishing, that you can have a kind of chart of the moment on the fly. So I love this software. Okay. I love this app. I'm a big Astro Gold guy, and I recommend it completely. Some other apps that I would recommend. So if you're not wanting to spend the money, or you just can't spend this money right now, you don't really need Astro Gold, though it's highly convenient and efficient. You can just open up the browser on your device, on your phone device, or on your laptop. Type this in, astro.com current planets. The first link will be from Astrodienst current planets, and they will give you a chart of the moment. So you can follow the chart of the moment here just by typing that in anytime on your phone or your laptop to get this chart of the moment from Astrodienst. And you can if you create a free account, you can set your location. So it will give you the location of where you're at. This is the location. And by the way, to get it will populate only with the list. You just click that link at the bottom, chart of the moment, boom, and it pops up this little kind of applet, whatever this is. But you can change the location. They've got my birth location from my birth chart, Austin, where I was born. But you can change that settings with your free account just to have the location that you want to see whenever you click this. And I was going to say, by the way, it's location. If you don't even want to look at the chart, like where the ascendant is, you can just check out where the planets are. That's location independent. The sun, like right now, I'll do it just live here. If I go to my Astro Gold, I type view, I click the chart of the moment button. The moon is at in Pisces, 0 degrees, 3 degree minutes for the whole globe. That does not change. So you can get just the position of the, like where the moon is, without looking at a chart of your location, the ascendant midheaven of the location, just by looking at the list that they pre-populate with. Okay. The next one I'll recommend, and they're just as good, Peter. So it's AstroSeek current planets. They offer the same service. AstroSeek.com is an amazing site, as good as Astro.com, better in many, many ways. Peter, the programmer of AstroSeek, is an amazing guy. He's very responsive on Twitter. He will answer questions. He'll even make changes on the site if you give a good recommendation. He's a very cool dude. And so use AstroSeek as well. I use both AstroSeek and Astro.com for different purposes, but you can see AstroSeek. They will give you a chart of the moment, and it's just a similar thing. You can click change your local time zone. This one's UT, GMT, but you can just get it for your local time zone or for your location. Same idea here. So you might like one site better than the other. The point is, you can map the astrology of the moment, of the multiple times a day, to follow the planets. And this is where I think, before I start talking about Dorotheus, I'm going to stop share. This is the major point of the video, how I would use daily astrology. You need to follow where the planets are. You need to follow what's happening in the transiting sky. That's kind of like the high level imperative here. If you want to engage with astrology on a daily basis, follow what's happening with the planets. You have faster moving planets, you have slower moving planets. My advice is to find the planets you like. I often use the 7 traditional, though I know the outers and the dwarfs and all of that. I follow that more for mundane work, and for the community at large loves those. And so I'm a community member. I like to be engaged with my community. But for me, I know what Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, the sun, and the moon, I know what they're doing. I have it in my head. I'm engaged with it. I'm anticipating it. And so you'll find your own kind of series of things you want to follow. Now, this is where I want to come into the next specific suggestion for how to follow and use astrology on a daily basis. And this is going to come from Dorotheus of Sidon, his Carmen Astrologicum. I think so. I can't spit that out. Not really. That word's not one I pronounce often. This is from the Ben Dykes translation. Kazemi Press 2019. And this is my next big piece of advice. If you're going to pick one planet to follow to understand what the astrology is doing on a daily basis, my suggestion, please pick the moon. And you see here, this is from chapter 5 of Dorotheus when he talks about elections. He says here, let's see here, in which one should not begin the inception of a work or any matter when that is discovered until the condition of the moon and her lord is suitable. Okay. And I like this here, actually. I want to read this quote because I'm going to talk about a few charts here in a second. When the moon is eclipsed, that is harsher if the eclipsing of hers is in the sign in which the moon was at birth of the native. So basically he's saying here, eclipsed moons are harsh. We have a lunar eclipse coming up. I'm going to do a whole video on it. This is kind of a nice preview of that video. It's a harsh experience to have an eclipsed moon. And he's also then pointing to rooting here. He's saying, check your nativity. Where are eclipses happening in your nativity? He's suggesting that if it's in the sign of your natal moon, it's even harsher. But I like that he's pointing to rooting. I'm going to do a little bit at the end of this video. And then he says here, let's see here, talking about just the rooting. I'm going to skip now out of this. But this is the point. Follow the moon. If you want to do astrology on a daily basis, follow the moon. And this is what I do. This is just what I do. Always know where the moon is. But more importantly, and these are the examples I just want to walk through here as we're kind of winding down. This is where the moon is. Like I said, it just ingressed into Pisces now. This was from a few days ago when I was preparing this talk. But if you know where the moon is, you see, I knew that the moon was in Aquarius the last few days. And then I knew about the configurations that the moon will trigger while it's in Aquarius. In particular, the moon will be with Saturn squaring that stellium and Scorpio in the nodes. It's with the bendings, so-called, or in particular, the south bending. And with Saturn, this is not easy for the moon. This is harsh. And so when you know, one, where the moon is, the sign it's in, and then two, you can apply that moon to the configurations of the other planets, the moon will trigger these narratives that are ongoing. And so it's this kind of double combination when you follow the moon. You get to not only know what house or sign is being triggered, but what other planetary configurations are being triggered. So for example, this Aquarius moon would have been one I would be interested to turn down in between eclipses. You don't want to turn down when the moon's with Saturn squaring the sun, squaring the nodes, and then now next we're in this Pisces moon moment. This is one that does not trigger the fixed, challenge here in the chart, but it is blending with this Jupiter and Pisces. Only two of these Jupiter moons, moon with Jupiter and Pisces until Jupiter leaves Pisces for good. Remember that this is one of them. We're in it now. But this moon is not just this like a moon Jupiter hangout. You square Mars retrograde. And so you're triggering the Mars retrograde story with this moon. So it's kind of some highs and lows with this Pisces moon. But again, we can understand the moment, not only the house sign that it's triggering, but then these other transits that are being triggered just by knowing where the moon is. And then looking at the chart, and then you can kind of delineate what's happening with these other planets. Remember, the moon's the great trigger. And then we can see here, just to go one more, the Aries moon. This one's kind of cool, right? It's sextile both Saturn and Mars. The issue, and it's not dealing with any other planets. It's averse to those other planets, but it's ruled by a retrograde Mars. So again, this, like the Mars retrograde story, now that this moon's in Pisces and then in Aries, we're dealing with it before this lunar eclipse, which comes on the 8th. A lot of martial stuff going down in these intermediate days. And so we're really feeling this Mars retrograde. I say that because of the moon. I'm following the moon. So the moon lets you understand what other larger stories are maybe more potently felt or triggered. And that is how I would use it. Now, the final thing I want to share with you is the idea of, and this is back to Astro Gold. You can pull up a bi-wheel. You can put your chart in the middle and then look at the transits to your natal chart. I've got a chart example here using Jeff Bridges' AA time. I just pulled up, and by the way, Astro Gold will give you a little library of charts that you can pick from. This is in their entertainment folder. And I like it because it's a lot more contemporary than some of the other libraries I've seen. So Jeff Bridges, great actor, right? I just watched a picture with Jeff Bridges. Oh, I can't think of the name. One of his early movies in the early 80s. He was like an ex-football player working for a gangster. It was a cool film, like a love story. But anyhow, so remember what I said, we're looking at the moon, and I said that when the moon hits Pisces and when the moon hits Aries, it is this Mars retrograde because it's squaring the moon when it's in Pisces, and then it's ruled by that Mars when it's in Aries. That Mars retrograde story is activated. But so you can follow the moon in Astro Gold with your chart. You can just pull up the moon. What house is it in your chart? And that might tell you the themes, and you'll get to study your house topics, how your nativity and the houses in your chart work and the planets in your chart work, how they're triggered by the transiting moon. Great way to get involved in your chart and learn your chart. But I just wanted to point out, this is the bi-wheel with Jeff Bridges, and I was curious what's going on with his life. Dang, he's got this angular transit of Mars retrograde going over his moon in midheaven. And then I just typed him into the news stories. And then we also see that stellium, the eclipses are happening in 3-9 for him. Maybe he's going through some spiritual stuff and maybe some career review stuff. But then I pulled up the story. Look at this. He announced here, this is while Mars was not retrograde, but in Gemini, getting deeper into Gemini, that he had this long battle with cancer and COVID, and he couldn't work again. Mars in his 10th house, about to go retrograde. He's talking about the past and what he's just recently gone through and how it debilitated him. So I felt like there was some really interesting Mars retrograde stuff happening. There was also these headlines were talking about his favorite role, and he was talking about Big Lebowski and things. So he was kind of a retrospective with that Mars right in his 10th for this whole time. So anyhow, it's one way to think about it. Where's the moon? Where are the planets? Look at those bi-wheels with your Astro Gold. And you can study your chart and study what's happening in the transiting sky. So, okay, that's going to be it for this video. I hope this helps you engage with the daily astrology. I hope this helps you with your ongoing astrological work. And thank you, Jess, for the comment and for being the inspiration for this video. Have a wonderful in-between eclipse season here moment. I plan to release a video soon about this lunar eclipse, breaking down some of that symbolism. Look for that. Talk soon. Have a wonderful time. Take care.